Good morning. Welcome to the Real Matrix Files YouTube channel and hello to subscribers. Thanks again for being here. I had a few thoughts this morning I wanted to share with you just to recap on a really important part of what these files are about, and that is the social media aspect of the simulation that we are in. We've already looked at how it was predominantly caused by social media and how it affects the glands in the brain and our five senses in terms of the input that we're receiving, and how our perception of reality is being overwritten by the data that is in the airwaves between towers. We looked at TV, we looked at all broadcast media, and the many other ways that our airwaves are being saturated with information that is overwriting us as human beings in our perception of reality, from an imperceptible level and a genetic level, and via the 5 and 6 sense. So getting back to social media, I was just thinking about where this all started, and I was around when social media began. I was on the internet before social media began. When I started online, I was mainly participating in one email group and visiting various forums where public discussion was occurring about anything, really. There were a lot of interest groups, and there was a really enthusiastic approach to new information and sharing new information and sharing alternate media, and a lot of investigative internet journalists, I would call them, who were writing books, a lot of spiritual stuff, and just in general rewiring the world to a higher level of understanding of exactly where we are, why we're here, what we're doing, and who the bad guys are. So that's sort of where I started online. And I have to say that in the areas where I wasn't just reading information off a website, which was incredible at the time to be able to do that, and to have information handy just at the click of a button, or a mouse, as the case may be, was incredible. So it was something I just thought was absolutely fantastic, and I couldn't get enough of it, and I wanted more information, and I was so curious about so many things. And at the time, I didn't really think that there's anything wrong with that. It was sort of like being let loose in a library, but reading all the books had been made that much easier. So that's where I started. And when I was moving into forums and real-time communication with people, obviously I was speaking most of the time with Americans. I'm an Australian, and most of the popular sites online, the forums, were run by American companies, American individuals, Americans who simply started websites and wanted to get a discussion forum happening, and a lot more well-established people. That being said, there were some British sites that I visited, but in terms of the real-time communication that was occurring in the forums, it was with Americans. So what we had back then was and chat rooms. We had the real-time aspect of communication online was happening through email, chat rooms, and forums. This was the basic format. This is before YouTube. This is before any of us could even upload a moving picture. This is before any of us knew what a GIF was. We didn't even know how to create a moving picture. It was simply you've got to type in some sort of code to try and get an image up on the internet. And obviously, over the last couple of decades or so, all of that has become lightning fast and easy to do, but not necessarily easy depending on what they change next and how hard they want to make it. I've already got podcasts on how big tech are making life harder. But anyway, that's where I came in. And real-time communication was predominantly with Americans, British, and obviously being an English-speaking person, I had no interest in going to any other non-English-speaking site. So there it is. And what ended up happening was, I think it was Facebook that started in 2004. We've done a podcast about Facebook. I think there's quite a few actually. But so Facebook started up, and it was nowhere near what it is today. It was absolutely nowhere near it. It was a very simple introduction screen, and you simply signed up with an account. You had to show that you were over 16 years of age. You didn't have to show documents at that point, but you did have to type in your birth date, and they did make it quite clear that you needed to be over 16 to use the network. And I opened an account with Facebook, and I looked at it, and I didn't understand what the hell was going on. I thought it was really weird. I didn't understand why people were just saying a couple of sentences and posting a picture, and that was it. At the same time, this was when you could not reply to posts. I don't think you could share posts either. All you could do really was follow other people and hope for them to do the same for you back, and then share your content with them. And that was it. It was very narrow in the screen that I couldn't. I was used to dealing in emails and big screened websites and stuff, and so to come down into Facebook and have this very restricted visual field, I found really limiting. It sort of hurt my eyes, and I felt like my brain was getting squished into a tiny little box. So I think I was there for like connecting with just a few people that I knew from online, and I was there for about half a minute before I just didn't go back. I did keep my account, but I didn't go back. I just thought, this is silly. I don't know who's done this. This is just silly. It doesn't make any sense to be doing it. We can already do that by email, chat rooms, and forums. So I don't know what this is about, but I'm out of here. And so this is in 2000. I was probably, I don't know, probably about 2006, 2005 or something like that. When it became more of a worldwide interest for people is when I joined Facebook, and left very quickly. So what I then noticed when I came back to the network a few years later, I could be lying there. It could have been 12 months later or a few months. I really have no recollection. It was that long ago. But when I came back, obviously the platform had developed somewhat. New things had been added. People were able to share a bit more information. People were able to share each other's posts, and people were able to reply to each other's posts. And so there was more of a community feeling to it. There was more immediate response to the information that you were sharing. But there was also an influx of just normal everyday stuff that people were posting. Here is my bread that I just bought at the bakery. Here is my dinner. Here is my cat. Here is my house. These sorts of things. And I'm not saying that there is really anything necessarily wrong with any human being sharing with others what they feel is important to them. That to me seems to be what social media has been used for by most people, sharing what is important to us with others. But I was among that group of people who had very little patience for mundane things, that I felt that the internet was being wasted with that stuff when we could be learning from each other. We could be sharing information. We could be discussing in a friendly way, opening our minds, enjoying our curiosity, and really learning about who we are, what we're doing here, all these big life questions, or simply just being there for each other as in a friendly way to offer support or anything like that. But I probably don't even need to explain this to you, but Facebook obviously very quickly spiraled into more of a less of an information site, unfiltered information site, into a sort of everyday community thing where people would just talk about themselves. Well, great. I mean, you can talk about yourself if you want to. Most people enjoy it. I'm doing that right now. It's part of the human condition. But as the years went by, very slowly, celebrities got wind of the fact that social media was a thing. There was a lot of online content of theirs that was being shared through memes, movies, music. We had the whole debacle with what were they called? Napster. There you go. Found it. With illegal sharing of music. There were industries that were feeling the pinch that the public weren't buying from them anymore. They were just getting it for free online. All sorts of things that alerted public figures and the people they work for to the fact that there was a craze going on online, and they weren't part of it, and they were getting fleeced by not being part of it. So along they came, and they started joining Twitter when it started up, Facebook, and then Instagram when it started up in 2010, and smartphones were already a thing. And so then what we had was a huge influx of celebrity users, public figures. The age of entry for people to social media dropped from 16 years of age to 13. And celebrities were actually being used to promote the social networks. If Facebook, Instagram, or SoundCloud, or any of these places had a celebrity who had just released a new album or a new movie or something like this, they were being put on the front page, on the landing page of the website to attract more people to join up. And this was being done after years and years of you and me, the everyday person, providing free content for a free service to these networks to enable them to make their first cool millions. So what happened was all these networks started by you and me, the everyday person, coming online and using these networks in a positive way that was what they were meant for. That eventually turned into a negative way because media and personalities came online and started dumping all their stuff. The news media came online. We had fan clubs and fans all over the place and people who liked this and didn't like that. So when the commercial aspect of this bizarre world we live in, simulated, came online, a heavy toxicity and a heavy negativity came along with it because that is the nature of news media. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with celebrities, you're also dealing with fanaticism, and that of itself carries with it a very toxic negative energy. People disagree. People don't like this artist. Somebody gets upset. Fights break out. And when you get people modeling themselves, their lives, and their online content based on what they see celebrities doing, we get an explosion of selfies. We get an explosion of bullying. We get an explosion of comparisons of lifestyle. We get an explosion of depression because we don't have what someone else does. And the whole thing just ends up being one big television and having a bad effect on everybody. And this is before we even get into what I've already discussed in the files with how Facebook is actually responsible for the simulation we live in. Please, if you're new to this channel, please go back and listen or get the book. I've advertised it in the header. It's available at Amazon. Simulation, the transcripts, P. Dreesen. Get it, read it. It explains it very, very simply how our five senses, predominantly our sight, and the magnetic fields around our body and our biofield, are being infiltrated by every manner of data that's online. All things mobile now, it's all in the airwaves. But this is what happened. We, the people, the normal everyday person who started out in search of truth, actually, most of us, started out in search of truth, have been hijacked, overrun, and taken over by commercial media. And that is most celebrities who came online, who now use Twitter and Facebook and Instagram to update their fan base, keep themselves relevant, and continue to make money. So we went from eyeballs on the truth to selling eyeballs, making money. And that's the sad effect of commercial media coming online. They kind of didn't need to. I figure if they weren't selling newspapers anymore, then maybe they should have taken the hint, but they didn't. And they wanted to be on here with everybody else, not realizing that most of us were on here just conversing and sharing cool stuff. We weren't, and we would share news articles, but only after we'd seen them outside the site. Now they're all online on social media, just dumping enormous art, like they spam. They basically just spam. All the news sites just spam all day. How many news articles do you see them spam all day? They post one every 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm surprised they're even allowed to do this. It is actually called spamming, and they're allowed to do this openly every 10 minutes. I mean, it's ridiculous. I've had times over the years where I've posted, a tweet every 3 minutes because I'm on a roll and I'm on to try and get something off my chest. And eventually I get limited in some way, or they want to check whether I'm a robot or not. But this doesn't happen with the people who are drawing their users in. It doesn't happen with big media companies. It doesn't happen when a celebrity goes on a rant. I don't know if you remember Kanye West's rant, but they were pretty loud and obnoxious. And these people are untouched. You can report a celebrity for breaking the rules and Twitter won't touch them. They won't touch them unless they agree that for some political reason they don't agree with their view. The Blue Tick Club, which is what I call them, where you have a verified account, seem to be some sort of dehumanized cult that all think that they are an authority on everything that they speak on. It's been very disillusioning for young people to see a celebrity's name with a blue tick next to it, and the psychological association that is made with a tick, in that it is psychologically says what this person is saying is correct, because we grew up with this system in school where a teacher would mark our work and use a tick. We have very deeply embedded psychological associations between a tick and accuracy, what is correct, what makes us feel good. So we see these people with a blue tick next to their name, young people do, and they think that everything they're saying is correct. I think that everything they're saying is true and right. It's not. Most of the time, what they're saying is just giving an opinion, but they do it in such an arrogant way that they say it as a fact. And you get 13-year-olds coming online when they're not even finished their education, learning from celebrities whose opinion wasn't asked for anyway, and they're only there to stay in front of your face and defend themselves from attacks in the media if they happen, and try and win an election the way they want to, and sell their product. So yeah, we are a long way from where these networks started. And it's a shame, because I used to enjoy coming onto the internet a very long time ago. I used to enjoy it. I used to enjoy opening up my emails and seeing what incredible things were coming my way next. I used to enjoy getting involved in conversations. At the same time, I was also incredibly offended a lot, because the nature of this device, this interface, is that we read what people say most of the time. And words going straight into the brain can trigger all sorts of different parts of us. Understandably and quite naturally, it is called psychological warfare, where the brain, the mind, the psyche is under constant attack by words that trigger us at a subconscious level, depending on how we have been conditioned in our own lives to respond to words, data, input, imagery, and the associations that we make between these things. So as I said, I used to enjoy it. Not anymore. Not anymore. I go online to update what it is that I need to be doing, which is now strictly more about music and selling the books, and getting this information out. And I find that there is less engagement in what I'm offering, way less engagement, because everyone's watching celebrities and blue tick accounts. It pisses me off. I see people with 2 million followers and all they do is post selfies, while important information is being overlooked because it doesn't have a blue tick. I mean, this is how commercial media wrecked the world to begin with television. Then the internet came along and we all thought, oh, great, we've got an escape route. We can actually all communicate with each other in an open source sort of way. And then commercial media came along and wrecked that as well. We've seen all the problems that have happened with elections in America. I mean, really, it's ridiculous. It's a joke. It's laughable. It goes on and on and on every year. They never stop talking about their politics. They assume everybody's interested, and very few people are. We just want to know who their next president is so that we can laugh at that one too. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing that the United States of America, in calling themselves a superpower, haven't figured out that they are the most emotionally fragile and vulnerable country in the whole world. That's not superpower status. And the fact that they are so emotionally fragile and vulnerable is the reason they have such a big army. A very egotistical country. And I'm not saying that about American citizens. I'm talking about your system of government, where you sit in the world. And if you are in any way reasonable and sane, you will agree with me on that front. I hate Australian politicians as well. I can't stand them. I'm very vocal about it. I don't think that they deserve anything more than to be spat on. Seriously. The last 2 years have been absolutely ridiculous, which gets me to my next point. When we live in a simulation, we also have to look at disease and how that is being generated and where it is being generated from. The perspective of the fact that we are in a simulation. Where is the data? Where is the data coming from that's putting this thing into our biofield and infecting us? You know how there's all these stories of everybody's, isolated and locked down, but people are still getting it and they don't know how. Everyone's immunized and they're still getting it, but they don't know how. You know, with each different variant, all the old ones disappear. It's all just data. It's all just media. It's all just hype. It's all just immune systems getting pounded by the incredibly toxic and hostile nature of everything that's online, everything that's in the airwaves. 5G, don't even go there. And we have had to listen to our politicians tell us to get the app, and yet that's the thing that's doing it. Disease in a simulation, once it becomes physical, it does take on a life of its own, in the same way that a human being, we have a life of our own, even though we're in a simulation. We are not just mirages. We have become physical matter. And within that, there are biological laws that take over, and things take on a life of their own. So you only need to have disease, the concept of disease, the idea of disease being implanted at any point in the system. And like a virus, like anything, any viral media, it will take off. And the more people that you can get believing that there is disease and illness in the world, the more people will become diseased and ill. It is as simple as that. The fact that I'm talking about this with you is because I haven't spoken about it before. But in every other instance where I see people still talking about it online, the last 2 years, and what's happening next, and I see the media doing it, I'm angered. I find something else to talk about. Get on with your life, do something better. You've tried everything, it didn't work. Live your life and enjoy it before your time's up, because you could get hit by a truck tomorrow. I could die today. Maybe I will. No skin off my nose. The point being is that what's happened is a direct interference in our ability to enjoy life, learn, love, live, and grow. We have been literally swamped with meaningless shite, with the whole verification blue tick club, with people who are already verified. I mean, look, when you go on social media, if you give them your email address and your phone number and some sort of proof of identity, you are verified. You don't need to be a famous person to be verified. You don't need to have done anything in the media to be a verified individual. But this is what they're basing the verification of our identity on. Whether or not we're famous, whether or not we're important, whether or not we are commercially viable. So right there, this is the mentality that we're dealing with on Twitter. That being said, the reason that they brought verification in to begin with is because a certain part of our demographic out here, we the everyday people, were coming online and impersonating celebrities. They were signing up with bogus usernames and impersonating celebrities. And so when the celebrity turned up, the celebrity was like, hang on, there's all these people here pretending to be me. How do I differentiate and let the media know that this is me? And so that's where the blue tick came in. Twitter decided, okay, well, we'll give you a blue check mark to let people know that you are the real account. And now everyone can get it. Something called content creators can get a blue check mark just because they've got a lot of followers. But the content that they're putting out has nothing to do with learning, living, loving, or growing. They're just talking, like I'm talking to you right now. And technically, if I did this every day, and I called it a podcast, and I filmed myself saying it, and I maybe interviewed a few people, and I got a few followers, only then would I get a verified account, despite the fact that in my own life, I'm already an accomplished individual. I worked on television for many years, in front of the camera. But they won't verify me because it's too long ago and I don't have enough followers and nobody cares because they're all looking at Kim Kardashian pictures and, I don't know, some weird person who likes to dress colourfully. The whole thing has become insulting to even log into. It is nice to get positive feedback every now and then, but it is so scattered and so few and far between that it really makes the whole thing a massive chore just to be part of. The people, if you want to get something out there, you have to negotiate with how social media's system works. You've got to follow people and hope they follow you back, and then unfollow them when they don't, so that you don't follow too many people. And you're not just passively taking in information all the time. There's really very little genuine communication going on. We had 13-year-olds coming online, 10-year-olds coming online. They've taken over with memes that honestly really don't make much of a difference. They just add to the noise and the toxicity. Sesame Street did it better 50 years ago, and here we are, where it's now 9:48 in the morning for me, and I felt compelled first thing to get this off my chest with you because of how bad it is, and remembering the history of how these things started and how it was the everyday person who built these networks, who made Zuckerberg his first millions, who made Instagram, provided the content. Same for Twitter. And at the end of the day, they sold us out. They sold out to celebrities and commercial media, and we are all back in the same boat, except this time they let a virus into the system. I don't know how that's going to go for them, really. I really don't know how it's going to go for them. The atmosphere out there in the world with everyone having a smartphone and the towers on all the time is so unpleasant to be part of. You really do need to get about 3 hours away from a major city before you can feel like you can actually breathe. And they call this advanced society. They call this technology advanced. They think that they're great. They think they're doing incredible things when they're making things worse. But they just choose not to see it that way. And they find it difficult to see it that way because their profits keep going up. Their market share price stays healthy. So that's working for them, but it's not working overall. Because just because they're making money doesn't mean that what they're making it from is doing anybody any good. And this is the age-old dilemma. When we have people who are directly impacting our quality of life, but they're making money doing it, they are very hard to convince to stop. They want look at the climate debate. Even if you just break it down to pollution, look at it. The only reason it's even still an issue and we're not all solar and wind powered by now is because of money and the people who don't want to lose money. They want their share prices high. When it comes to disease, Pfizer wants to keep their share price high, keep investors happy. It's on their website. They proudly advertise what a fantastic couple of years they've had because of COVID. Money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. It's meaningless, is what? It's actually meaningless. The only reason any of us even need money to survive is because they say so, because our systems of government say so. It's a way of exchange for goods and services. And we get fleeced over and over and over again. And then social media and the internet, who we thought were going to save us, they turn around and do exactly the same thing. These people are not, in my opinion, human. They're animals. They live based on survival instinct, not based on reason, and they do whatever they have to do to survive. And in a system that is based on money, we are only headed in one direction. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. One day we're going to look up in the sky. There's going to be a huge freaking massive glow up there. It's going to be an asteroid, and we are done and sunk and over. It's just a matter of when. The only way to reverse this process and get out of it is to speak about this openly, to make sure that we're not shut down, to make sure that social media bully companies do not have the last say on what is and is not the truth, as if they would know from that position. They talk about misleading information. What a load of nonsense. People are entitled to engage in information in any format they choose. They are entitled to believe anything they choose. They are entitled to share anything they choose. If somebody doesn't like something being said about them that's untrue and it's impacted their ability to earn a living, they can sue the other party for slander, defamation, libel, all the rest of it. It is not for social media companies to be deciding what we believe and what we don't believe. And that includes when it comes to COVID. They are not doctors. They are not me. They are not you. They are companies making money from sickness, disease, suffering, toxic media. Exploiting children, ruining people's lives. This is what they do. Digging undersea cables, Facebook and Google's undersea cables. What was that tsunami recently near Tonga? How many earthquakes do we have that start out in the ocean? Why is that happening? Does it have anything to do with Facebook and Google's undersea friggin' pipes? How much further can man invade and intrude on nature, including the human being, before he realizes that he is an idiot? That no amount of money or blue tick will change the fact that what he's doing is wrong. So anyway, that's my rant for this morning. That's the deal with social media. That's where it started. This is where we've ended up. People need to wake up fast. There is a massive erosion of core values going on, of basic spirituality. You don't even have to be the same religion to know the difference between right and wrong. A sense of conscience, of the difference between stuff that media promotes as valid and what is actually meaningful. Honestly, nobody really cares how most of us look. But sadly, there's a culture that's evolved online where things have to be presented in a certain way as eye candy for anybody to even bother. It's very sad. It's very depressing. But I just know in my heart that these sorts of things can only continue for so long before they implode. I think they dropped the ball when COVID came along because that was the system imploding on itself. They have instead capitalised on it in trying to control us even more. They're all obviously insane and delusional and psychopathic, just chewing up toxic news media all day. The whole thing's media driven. But, what we have to do to reverse it is learn, share the information, turn your phones off, don't use the smartphone, limit your internet activity, block everything that is offensive to you. Block everything that is offensive to you, seriously. Block everything that's toxic. Block all politicians. Block all news media. Deprive them of their audience. Block celebrities who rant on about politics all day or tell other people what to do with their bodies. Unlike, unfollow, block, 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 block. Let the system know that we're not going to put up with it anymore. That just because someone's a celebrity doesn't mean they're better than me, you, or that they're correct about anything that they say, and they are not beyond reproach. Most of them have no reason to be on social media. They're just there for greed. So I'll leave it with you. I hope you found this podcast informative. If you were not around when the internet existed before social media, I hope I've shed some light on how everything sort of fell into place and came together and how we ended up where we are today. Please do get the book, Simulation, the transcripts. If you don't have it already, you can get it as an ebook. It does have a lot of images in it that explain a lot of things. It is based primarily on a personal experience that I had, which was the reason that these files started to begin with. I was researching something that happened to me and I got to the bottom of it. I found out the truth, that it was a simulated event. So that's included in the book. I have a companion book also called Lights, which you can also get at Amazon, which is the fictionalized version of my research. It's kind of like a quasi screenplay, I guess you could say, and it'd make an epic film. But Lights, P. Dreesen, is also available. And for an insight into patriarchy and how it filters into the home and basically what this entire system is built on, you can get Big Man, A Wake Up Call for Women, which is also at Amazon. Thanks very much for listening. I'll be back again another time. Hang in there, and I'll see you soon.